We are live.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to get you in here. All right, well, welcome everyone to the 2017 annual meeting of the TJAA Alumni Association Board of Directors. I'll just go through members in attendance real quick. President is myself, Tom Ellis, class of '83. Treasurer Jimmy Halloran, who is outgoing treasurer, is getting married today, so he's not going to be present for obvious reasons. We got Secretary Jeffrey Smith. Jeffrey, you're on. Is that right? Oh,
I'm muted. On. My camera may not work. I was muting for typing reasons, but I can hear you guys.
Okay. And then we've got Chair of the Technology Committee, which is David German.
Hello.
Chairman and Editor and Content Committee, Patrick Phelan. I don't know if Patrick will be joining us or not today. Then we have the Chair of Alumni Development and Events, Noy Blair, who is not available today, as is the same with the Chair of our Fundraising Committee, which is Allison Wolfsey. But I do have here at TJ with me the director appointed by TJ, which is Marie DeJesus.
Hello.
And then also the director from the last 4 graduating classes of TJ, which is Thomas Van Horn. Hello. Okay. The agenda for our annual meeting is set by the bylaws of the association. Consists of 7 agenda items. The first is reading of the minutes from the last meeting. 2 is actions of the board since the last meeting. 3 are any reports from chairpersons of committee. 4 is a report of treasurer. 5, unfinished business. 6, new business. And 7 is to announce election results. So I'll move to the first item, which is the reading of minutes. Jeffrey, if you wouldn't mind reading those, please.
Sure. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. The previous meeting was Wednesday, February 22nd, 7 p.m. In attendance were David, Kathleen, Marie, Noy, Thomas, Tom, and myself. The first and primary point of discussion was the upcoming annual elections. The 5 positions up for the normal 2-year term vote were the recent, graduate representative, the chair of Alumni Development and Events Committee, the chair of the Fundraising Committee, the chair of the Governance and Bylaws Committee, and the chair of Editor and Content Committee. Jimmy was stepping down from the TJ board midway through his 2-year term. So he's stepping down from the Alumni Association board halfway through to join the TJAS board. So his position was up as well for a special 1-year term. Nominations were open until March 15th. We're soliciting candidates at that point in time. Tom sent out an email, and the election buddy voting system was open on April 5th through April 12th. We then discussed meeting dates for this year. The annual meeting was proposed to be Saturday, April 21st, and that was approved, but that obviously got moved. And then we discussed Wednesday, July 19th. It's, I guess, 7 p.m. our usual slot for the next quarterly meeting. The other points brought up related to some of the shifts in this things were that until we have new treasurer, Marie was going to get the bank statements. We had a $398 balance in December and a $389 balance in February. Tom was going to reconcile email lists with David before the elections, and Marie said she was going to start getting seniors ready to get signed up, in May for joining the Alumni Association. Kathleen then talked about the mailer she sent out recently, which was primarily about upcoming alumni events. Talked about San Francisco in April, St. Louis in May, Chicago in July, Boston in September, New York in October, and St. Louis again in December for the Christmas party. We also brought up alumni distinction awards, nominations being sought, and then talked about annual giving, which for the first time last year, I guess, was being accounted for slightly differently. Last year, $130,000 total revenue was taken in, but not really broken down very well. I guess last year being 2015, but 2016, we got $63,000 in annual giving alone, combined donations of $132,000, which was above the $130,000 the previous year, but below our target of $143,000, and that was it.
Okay.
So, elections and meetings and giving.
Okay, so I would move that we approve those minutes. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so approved. Okay, moving on to the second item on the agenda, action since the board meeting. Since the last meeting, referring to the annual meeting and the last interim meeting. As Jeffrey alluded to in the minutes, the date for the annual meeting was by special meeting of the board changed to today, May 6th, with a change in the dates on the extension on the dates for nominations, as well as a change of the dates for the voting period. Since that time, the nominations and voting have taken place, so we have executed on that. With regard to the broader picture, the TJAA Alumni Association Board has met several times over the last year, and the discussions have centered primarily around the vision and what the ultimate strategic plan for the Alumni Association should be, noting that the stated purpose of the association is threefold: to build and maintain relationships between TJ alumni, to foster pride in TJ, and to support the mission of TJ. Some of the things that the board has identified, elements to help in that regard, would be seven primary ones that were discussed by the group. One is help organize and promote alumni events. Second is to provide support and serve as a resource for fellow alumni, especially for alumni in their first years of college. The third is to provide a mechanism to facilitate communication between alumni, such as email, social media, Google Hangout, and the likes. Fourth is to help in the referral of qualified students for admission to TJ. Fifth, as the Alumni Association is a leading constituency for TJ, should work to increase alumni philanthropy for the institution. Also suggested that performance of community service in the name of TJ and or the TJ Alumni Association. And then finally, to serve as a first line resource for TJ School and its projects and initiatives. From that, the board has also previously approved the board has been working to set up the framework for implementation of actions to achieve those goals. For example, one of the measures that the board has approved were the establishment of regional alumni chapters based on geographic areas. We have 10 of those: Boston, New York City, Washington, D.C., Atlanta, Chicago, St. Louis, San Francisco, Seattle, Denver, and Dallas. And they're for the international chapter that is handled through the St. Louis chapter, regional chapter. Alumni Development and Events Committee has made good progress in starting up those chapters. There's still a significant amount of work to be done. The board also further recognized that the way in which the association is currently addressing the goals of communicating its own work and facilitating communication between alumni needs to be revisited. Moving forward, we expect the technology committee, editor and content committee, and the board itself will work to develop more effective and user-friendly means in which to do so. The board has also approved meeting dates for the board for the 2017-2018 year, which are July 19, October 18, January 17 of 2018, and April 21 of 2018, which is considered to be the annual meeting of the board. The first three will be at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time by Google Hangout. There will be calendar invites that I will send out, Google Calendar invites I will send out to board members next week for each of those dates, along with a 7-day advance reminder of those dates. Okay, so that concludes that agenda item number 2. Unless there are any questions, I'll move on to agenda item 3, which is reports from chairpersons. And
Tom?
Yes.
Can I interrupt just briefly? We have a few people who are watching, and I want to make sure those people know there is a live chat into which they can type any comments or questions, and I'll read them into the record.
Okay, great. So I hope the folks that are tuned in will avail themselves of that, because all of the questions and comments are welcome. On the reports on committees, the Alumni Development and Events, Noy Blair will defer that to the next meeting due to unavailability. The same with fundraising, which is Allison Wolfsey. David is chair of the Technology Committee. I don't know if you had a specific report or if you'd wish to defer to the next meeting.
I have little to report. In the past year, we've continued to maintain the email list and to administer the annual meeting and the quarterly meetings. Beyond that, basically the committee is in maintenance mode.
Okay, until we start moving forward on some of the suggested items. Okay, and then editor and content with Patrick, we'll defer that to the next meeting as well. Agenda item number 4 is a report of the treasurer. Again, it will normally be Jimmy, who is getting married, and he is rotating off the board, the Alumni Association board, to take a position on the TJ board, where he is going to continue his good work for the school. As of March 31st of 2017, the balance in the alumni account was $372.11, which isn't markedly different from where we were at the start of the fiscal year. And that's in accordance with the association's desire to keep a nominal balance that's sufficient to provide for the small administrative costs and incidental expenses. The
What was the number again? Sorry.
I'm
What was
sorry?
the balance?
$372.11.
372.11.
Correct.
Thank you.
And certainly if any of the members want to contribute funds to the TJAA Alumni Association, we will welcome them, but our primary purpose in the philanthropy is to support the mission of TJ. Please keep that in mind. We also received a notification that the income tax returns for the association are due no later than May 24th, and I am currently working with past president Porky Pitts, and when Jimmy comes up for air, I'll consult with him, but we'll certainly get those done in a timely fashion. The other thing is the annual corporate report. We last filed in August of 2016. The next annual report is due no later than August 31st, 2017. So that item will be calendared and that will be met. Any questions on the treasurer report? If not, I'll move on. Item number 5, unfinished business. In listening to the minutes from the meeting and also consulting my notes, I don't see that there is any unfinished business that's been laid on the table or otherwise deferred. So we will move on to item number 6, which is new. There's no new business per se, but I would like to take this opportunity to make a couple of announcements. As Jeffrey alluded to in the minutes from the last meeting, there are some upcoming reunions. Those are St. Louis on May 26th, which is also graduation weekend. I'm sorry?
It's at 5 p.m.
At 5 p.m. Okay, May 26th at 5 p.m. Then the Chicago reunion is July 22nd. Boston reunion is September 13th. New York City reunion is October 14th. And the St. Louis holiday winter break reunion is December 23rd. There was, and basically there was a reunion on I asked that be put on our website, and I also will take responsibility for posting that on. Next thing that I announcement is with regard to TJ's annual fund, Kathleen Kelly and the development office are making the final push on any contributions before the end of the fiscal year. Because also each of us, I don't consider who we can reach out to, may be able to provide Kathleen some assistance in that regard. Speaking with admissions director Stephen Hell, I'd like to members of our board and that it is helpful in the broad geography of our alumni association to keep in mind that you're in areas where there may be potential students for admission to TJ, and if can assist in identifying where TJ could make a presence in that effort to solicit new students or to help and participate on behalf of TJ to help Stephen, that would be beneficial. As I know in Chicago where I am, there's Catherine Cook School that has a fair in October where they specifically invite boarding schools to participate opportunities like that in the country. It would help tremendously with the admissions here and the bottom line of the budget of the school. Please don't wait for TJ to reach out to you. You can be a self-starter. The main mission is to help support the students, and what we can do to help in that regard, we should. Any questions on new business before I move on? Now we'll go to the final item, which is the announcing. The election results are in. We conducted the election as we have every year so far through Election Buddy, an anonymous voting process that has worked very well. So the results. For one, class of 14, 4.1% of the vote. For the chair of the fundraising committee, Ian Ermatinger Salas, class of 10, one with 94.1% of the vote. Chairman of the Editor and Content Committee is Les Proctor, class of 1981, with 93.5% of the vote. And the director from the last 4 graduating classes at TJ is Tom Horton, class of 16, with 93.9% of the vote. And I'm sorry, and for the treasurer position, Artit Nivalakapin, class of 1987, one with 93.3% of the vote. Which brings me to the last item, which is the election of the chair of the Governance and Bylaws Committee, which this is a mischievous irony that only TJ could create. So we do have a write-in winner who is Brian Bentrup, the class of 04, with 18.8% of the vote on a write-in. The issue with that, one is first the person has to consent to the election to the office, but Brian is not currently a member of the association. So it would have fallen to the Governance and Bylaws Committee to consider whether or not someone who has not yet been, but it has the ability to, can be a member and retroactively take that position. So that will have to be considered. Then we move on to the second issue with this particular office, which is if Brian is ineligible or does not wish to take that office, tie for second, which is everyone who had one write-in vote. And those 4 people, one is myself, and where that not write myself in, and I'm not quite sure who has it out for me, but be that as it may, I'm there. Then we have two others that received 1 vote each that are not current members of the association, which are Fred Lynn, the class of 64, and then Blake Simmons, and I'm not sure what class Blake was in. But
I believe class of 2000. Does that sound right to you, Marie?
2000. Okay. But neither Fred Lynn nor Blake Simmons are currently members of the association. So the same issue that presents itself with Brian's election presents itself there. So the one that did get a write-in vote and is a member of the association is Carl Hagnauer, class of 09. So the bottom line is election result has not been finalized yet, and will take further action of the board. And without having a quorum in order to conduct the actual business of doing that, I will have to defer that either to the July 19th meeting or call a special meeting. In the interim, at least until June 30, under the bylaw, I have the authority and duty to appoint someone to fill that position. So I will look to appoint someone to that position to complete the rest of this year, and hopefully as a board we can get together prior to June 30 and make a determination as to the outcome of that particular election. So had to end with a flurry there. But that concludes the agenda items, but any other items, comments, questions, or concerns, certainly happy to field those now. David, did you receive any inquiries
I did not.
through the chat?
I did not.
Okay. Okay. Well, with that, I believe we stand adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, David.
Thanks, Tom.
All right. Bye-bye.